Our last FBS game that we have on an absolutely packed schedule, running a little long today, but that's all right. There's a lot to talk about. We have number 14 LSU at number 8 Alabama. The Crimson Tide are 3-point home favorites, and this game has an over-under of 60.5 points. It kicks off at 7:45 p.m. Eastern on CBS. I'm kind of happy that they're being honest about a kick time, because these main networks make you wait an extra 15 minutes because, they have a 4-hour broadcast block that they have to fill with less football because of the clock rules that I'm still not entirely over or on board with. Either way, 7:45 p.m. Eastern. Elite offense, porous defense versus elite defense and a very inconsistent offense in Alabama. I don't love how reliant Alabama is on long passing plays. When you take that away, what are they? They don't have multiple ways to beat you, and I look for teams offensively that have multiple ways to beat you. But is LSU's secondary the unit to prevent Jalen Milroe from passing for 35 yards per attempt? I don't know. Zy Alexander's out indefinitely. Deuce Chestnut left the team for personal reasons, so they're down a couple of secondary pieces there. LSU has the 4th lowest sack rate in the SEC, but Milroe has the 2nd highest pressure to sack ratio in the country, so they do have an opportunity to improve on that. He takes too long to throw. He moves into sacks, etc. Because, when you're throwing the long ball, it takes longer for your receivers to get open. I do think his receivers that I was not overly impressed with in the preseason have been playing pretty well. Jermaine Burton, Isaiah Bond have found their stride lately, especially, again, as those down the field kind of guys. Kelly, I would have loved to see Jalen Milroe with the Jalen Waddle, Jerry Jeudy, etc. Group. That'd have been a lot of fun. Anyway, I digress. I saw what this team can be in the second half against Tennessee. Took a nice live bet on them at almost even money, which was hilarious. But can Alabama be that consistently? Haven't seen it this year yet. Their pass rush does play a pivotal role, of course, as it has all season. Jaden Daniels has a 22% pressure to sack ratio, and that's too high for me. When you look at it, 20% or lower is what I'd like to see from quarterbacks. There was an interesting graph that came out, and again, I forget the person that tweeted. I'm very sorry. I love to give credit where credit is due. But they basically looked at quarterbacks that have worked in the NFL recently and have not worked. And there's a very clear divide between what is your pressure to sack ratio. If you're taking too many sacks, you may not work out the next level. Jaden Daniels is putting up Heisman numbers. He's a front runner for good reason. He's carrying this offense. Outstanding player, electric season. But that pressure to sack ratio is a little bit concerning when you're moving forward. And against Alabama's pass rush, that's very concerning to me this week specifically. However, Alabama's not played a quarterback nearly as dangerous in both passing and rushing as Jaden Daniels all season. Could have been KJ Jefferson, but Dan Enos just didn't want him to play football. They have not played an offense nearly as good as this. Right now, LSU's probably the best defense or offense in the country. Defense, yeah, right. Best offense in the country. I'm interested to know where your numbers fall on that. But the Alabama secondary, they're going to have their hands full. Brian Thomas, Malik Neighbors, they're outstanding. Brian Thomas still has a perfect passer rating when targeted. Malachi Moore, the safety for Alabama, really good player. Should be back in the lineup, but he's been in and out with some injuries. Alabama currently rated number 1, PFF's best coverage team in the country.
LSU, Alabama at night, Brett. Whether it's in Death Valley or Bryant-Denny, it's seemingly always one of the most highly anticipated games of the college football season. I'm not even an SEC fan, a fan of either of these teams. I'm a fan of college football, though, Brett, and of good college football. Most years, it doesn't get much better, bigger than this one. It's no different this year. Watchability score of 9.8. It's the number 1 game of the week for me. Number 7 game of the entire regular season, Brett. We talked about with the Georgia-Missouri game, SEC on CBS, 3:30 Eastern. Like, that's the classic spot, and I agree. But actually, over the last decade plus, Alabama, LSU, at 8 o'clock on SEC or on CBS, like, that is where it belongs to. I'm with you. I'm with you on the actual timing. I've never seen that before, 7:45. Like, I've never seen that advertised.
They're being honest is what it is. They're just not lying to people, I guess.
I'm down with it. Yeah, hey, I'm here for it. But, dude, this game... It means so much every year, and I'm so excited for it. This is one of my favorite games to watch every single year. And again, I'm not even a fan of either of these teams. It's pretty simple for Alabama. Win this game and make your travel plans for a trip to Atlanta in early December. The Tide also need to win this game to keep their college football playoff hopes alive as well. However, an LSU win makes things more interesting in the SEC West. It sets up a scenario in which there could end up being a three-way tie among LSU, Alabama, and Ole Miss. But the Rebels still have a trip to Athens on the schedule, so a Tigers win in this one would give LSU a critical head-to-head advantage over Alabama that could ultimately be the key to sending LSU to Atlanta for a second consecutive year. I have Alabama minus 2.5. It's a 57% win expectancy for the Crimson Tide. Alabama's currently power rated number 9 in my model. The Crimson Tide haven't finished a season ranked that low since 2008. That was Nick Saban's second year in Tuscaloosa. I've talked about this before. Alabama doesn't have to be better than the previous versions of itself. The Tide only have to be better than the teams on their schedule this year. And with a 38% chance to finish the regular season 11-1, that's exactly how the model evaluates this team currently. Alabama's offense is currently power rated number 20. It's 16 spots worse than in the preseason, but 9 spots better than 5 weeks ago. As has been the case for the majority of Saban's tenure, it is the defense that's carrying this team. They're ranked number 5 nationally for the third straight week, and it's that unit that's going to have to play lights out on Saturday night because this LSU team has the best offense that the Tide will face all season based on my current numbers. Believe it or not, Brett, I talked about this with Kansas State. My power rating suggests that this LSU's team is actually better than the 2022 version that beat the Crimson Tide and won the West. LSU's current power rating of 22.0 is their best since they finished the 2019 national championship season with a rating of 35.9. That's among the best ever for any college football team in my historical rating set. It starts with an offensive unit that ranks number 2 nationally behind only Oregon. Much like this is the best unit that the Alabama defense will face all season, the Alabama defense is the best opposing unit that the Tigers offense will face this season based on my current numbers. It's a strength-on-strength matchup. Should be phenomenal. It's a big reason why this game has such a high watchability score. Both teams were off last week, so neither has the rest advantage per usual in this matchup, which I love. The difference for me in this game, Brett, comes down to 2 things, for the model at least. The LSU defense, it's number 56. It's the only unit ranked outside the top 20 nationally in this game. And the game's in Tuscaloosa. Bottom line, Alabama minus 2.5, 43% chance that LSU pulls off the upset for the second year in a row in what's one of my favorite games of the college football season.